Well, welcome to the show, guys. Another episode of Learning to Fly podcast. Today, I have the luxury of having the oldest boy here, Duncan Hunley. Duncan, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks
Excited
for
to be
having me.
here?
Very much
Yeah.
so.
Okay. Let's get the laundry list out of the way. We are sponsored by Basham Construction until we get some other people that want to, carry that torch, so to speak. So share the show, hit the subscribe button, tell your like-minded people that are looking to grow to share the show as well. This is an entrepreneurial podcast, leadership, personal development, life. There's really nothing off topic here, so we try to not steer too much to politics necessarily, but it does come up. So anyway, Duncan, welcome. What are you doing here?
Coming to talk to you.
Yeah, why are you here? You live in Hawaii right now.
I do. I was coming home to visit. Haven't been home for a year and a half, and I missed you guys. So
You did? Yeah, what's Hawaii like? A little warmer than it is here.
So much warmer than this.
Oh, but so you've been here for a week. Let's just jump into your Army career first. We'll get into how we met a long time ago, but anybody that's been listening to the show, they've heard your sister's story. So yours isn't too much different than that, but
Not much.
give us a little history lesson on day one of the Army and how you got how you grew up the ranks, how you got where you're at, and where you're at today.
Yeah, well, not going to lie, day one, I don't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was brand new experience, and I'm pretty sure I blacked out half of it. So,
Oh, the boot camp.
yeah, just a lot of push-ups and a lot of yelling. But
Yeah.
day two, I remember, started making friends with all the people I was in basic training with. It was the first time I'd been away from home for a good amount of time, and didn't have phone, internet, none of that fancy stuff we got nowadays. And it was just the only things you had were the drill sergeants yelling at you and the battle buddies by your side. I
Yeah.
hate that battle buddies word, but that's the only way to describe it.
Why do you hate that?
It's kind of a Army thing. They drill it into you when you're in basic training, like make sure you always have a battle buddy. So once you get to the real Army or once you get out of basic training, like your NCOs are always tell you, like, you don't need a battle buddy and don't use battle buddy. Like,
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's kind of just something that, like, whenever someone joins the Army, like, you learn all the basics in basic. That's why it's basic. Then you go into your AIT, which is advanced individual training. Then that's where they teach you your job and all that fun stuff. And then after that, you go to your first duty station, which for the most part everybody refers to as the real Army. And once you get to said real Army, then it's just pretty much they tell you, hey, everything you learned, forget it. We're going to teach you exactly how the way things are done. Basic training IT is, like, for what I see it now is, and I can say all this because I'm getting out. The way I see it now is just, it's your stepping stones. It's your middle school and high school. It's like the stuff that they get you on the right path, but then once you get to your real unit, they actually start teaching you the stuff that you need to know, the way you got to do things, how you got to do things, why we do things. Because that's when you get into the real nitty gritty and have to not only put yourself on the line, but you're putting somebody else on the line. So if you don't do something the right way, or you aren't doing something the same way as the rest of the team, it could end up in total disaster and potentially lives.
A lot of responsibility you're learning at a young age. Every time I do an intro, I always want to redo them. I'm not going to redo it, but I do want to say we have a United States Army guy here. I thank you for your service, first of all. I wanted to lead with that. That's something I hold very tight to my chest. I'm very proud of you for that. Very, very proud of you for that. So thank you for your service.
Thanks for your support.
So, like, I remember boot camp when you went into boot camp. I've never done it, never done boot camp. I work out a little bit, but boot camp's a whole different animal. Would you say today, we walk out that door, could you do boot camp right now again?
Oh, yeah, 100%. And that's actually a common thing. Like, some of us will go back and be like, man, if I can go back to boot camp, knowing what I know now,
Yeah.
I'd smoke boot camp.
Dude,
I would do it so much better, so much differently. And honestly, it was just, especially coming out of high school, I turned 18, a month before I left, a month before I started basic training. signed my papers at 17, and I knew basically nothing.
Yeah.
So, but the Army, they tell you where to go, tell you where to be, tell you what to wear. They,
it's like being married.
For the most part, yeah. I mean,
Not really. Sorry, I joke a little bit. I get told what to do, where to be, and all that. It's like, shit, are you married?
The only difference is ours is legal.
Yeah. Mine's legal. But what do you mean?
Ours is legal in the sense of we can't say no.
Oh, gotcha. I didn't know where you were going with that. Okay. Yeah. So you could do boot camp right now and smoke everybody.
100%. Yeah, most definitely. Especially right now, and as much as I've learned in the ranks that I've grown up or came up in, and I'm like, yeah, no, I could do boot camp easily.
So
I could be perfectly fine throwing my phone away and just going 3 meals a day and some exercise every now and then. And
perfect.
Learning.
Perfect. So we just came back. Your best friend Ethan's sitting right over here. We had kind of a man afternoon. We went to lunch at Cracker Barrel. That was your call. And then we went to a cigar bar and had a cigar. And we just talked about, man stuff, life, and all that. But this actually kind of still continues our conversation. Because I wanted to talk about your self-confidence and your belief in yourself and your self-worth, all that stuff. I've talked about that on other podcasts. I'll never stop talking about it. But the reason I asked you about that boot camp is you have the confidence, without thinking about it, that I can go in there and dominate and kick ass. Right?
100%.
So that's the skill set and the mindset that I'm glad that you learned that through the military on your own, because that you'll take with you wherever you go in life. We just had Alan Eshy on. I'm still kind of defrosting from that. That was an amazing one. We'll have him back on again, but he talked about train wrecks in life, and I've had several train wrecks in life. That could be, losing a job, getting broke, whatever. Pick something that's devastating in your life, and how some people let that define them. If something negative happens to them, you have two decisions. You don't have three. You have two. I'm going to sit in the shit and wallow in it, or I'm going to find the positive in this, and I'm going to spin it into my belief system and do something good with it, right? So that's why I wanted to lead with that question. I was curious on your answer, and you nailed it. So that tells me anytime that negativity hits you square in the face, go back to that boot camp day. That today, I don't care what happened. I'm going to get through it. That's that mindset, that self-belief that you got to continue to grow with.
Well, that's what's going to make or break your Army career.
That's going to make or break you now. Now that you're getting out, that's something that
definitely excited to get out.
I know you are. And you were in there 6.5 years?
Total.
That's a long time.
Yeah, crazy to think I went in, graduated high school, less than a month later, I'm wearing a uniform, and here we are 6.5 years later. I'm 24 and starting a new chapter, and I'm like, oh, it's going to be fun.
Yeah. Are you nervous?
Yes.
Why?
Anybody who says they're not nervous getting out of the Army is lying.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Especially if you go in like I did. Well, yeah, but especially if you go in like I did right off the bat out of high school and knew nothing else. And if you do, some people, they get kicked out at 1 or 2 or 3 years, or some contracts start at 3 years and 4 or 5. I did 6.5 total, but especially once you start getting up to like 4, 5, 6, you've been spending a good decent time doing nothing but military. And I say military in reference to like this goes for every job in the military. Everybody has a different job in the military, but the underlying aspect of being in the military is the same. Everybody does a different job towards the same goal. I was military police, but I had about 3 different types of jobs that I did, where sometimes I worked law enforcement, sometimes I worked on the Army installation gates, or sometimes I went to the field and prepped to go downrange deploying.
Yeah. I know, like, the conception or the misconception of Army, we were fortunate enough that you were at Atterbury? Where were you in Franklin?
I was in Indiana at Camp Atterbury for a few months.
We came and visited you, which was so cool. Your little brother looks up to you big time, and he thought that was the coolest thing. We got to go through and I'm going to get some of this terminology wrong, so correct me. We go through the front gate, and that's when we could talk about whatever politically crap at the Army stuff if you want.
Yeah.
That's when they brought all the
So that mission we got tasked with, my company specifically was tasked with the security of the Afghanistan refugees that were coming over from Afghanistan. When we did that whole pullout of Afghanistan, and all these people started coming over, and not all of them stayed in the U.S. Some of them stayed, some of them went to other countries, but essentially what the U.S. did is brought them all in and kind of processed them.
Yeah.
We pulled security for them, and taught them our ways, like, hey, you're in our country now, you have to abide by these certain rules, and if not, you get these kind of consequences.
It was just so bizarre because I just remember from our perspective, we come in there, we drive through the gate or the entranceway, and we saw a couple of your buddies. The one guy I remembered, he's one of your closer buddies back in the Army. It's not important for the story. But we drive in there, we're looking for it, and there's all these foreigners. They're everywhere, just walking around, walking out of the gate.
Mm-hmm.
It was it's just very, very, very bizarre. Very bizarre. And we picked you up, and we went out we could take you off base and take you to dinner for a minute and then take you back. And I just remember how bizarre it was. And that was your life for 6.5 years.
It's definitely a culture shock, and anybody in the Army will say it's never the same. It's always changing. Like, I was dealing with Afghanistan refugees in Indiana, or I dealt with Germans in Germany and Australia. We are allies with them, but went to Australia, did training with them and a few different other armies that came.
So they went everywhere you went, or no?
Who?
The refugee or the
No. The refugees, they stayed in Indiana.
Oh, okay.
So the refugees, they got processed in Indiana, and then they were given the ability to choose where they wanted to go from there. Did they want to stay in Indiana? Did they want to go to another state? Did they want to go to another country? And then after that, once they do that, it's just kind of the refugees, they're trying to start a new life. That's what they're trying to do.
Okay. And you had to help police that and facilitate that. What was Australia like?
Warm as well.
Everywhere you've been's been warm.
Yeah, well, not Kansas.
Oh, that's right. We'll get to Kansas.
Yeah. But no, Australia was it was definitely a culture shock. Germany is over by the UK, but they drive on the same side of the road that we do. But the Australians, they drive on the other side of the road. It's a left-hand drive car, so I was getting in the car, and I got in the passenger seat, and there's a wheel in front of me, and I'm like, oh, I guess I'm driving.
So it is the other side?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It is, yeah. But, like, one of the things we learned when we first got there is, like, hey, there's out of the 8 most deadliest snakes in the world, 6 of them are in Australia. Or spiders, not snakes. Out of the 8 most deadliest spiders in the world, 6 of them are in Australia.
Did you see any of them?
Me, luckily, no. But my soldiers, on the other hand, we had a few of them in tents, and we always told them, like, hey, clean up your area, close up your sleeping bag if you're not in it, put your boots up high, put anything that you use on a daily basis, wrap it up, some way close it, and keep it up. Because if you're not using it, someone's going to try and find warmth in it. And you ain't going to like that someone, whether it's a scorpion, a snake, a spider.
Did anybody ever get bit?
No, luckily we didn't have anybody get bit, but we did have somebody get scared by a spider.
Oh, really?
That's just because they're scared by tiny little
So,
spiders.
like, when you're in Australia, I know some of this, but I'm going to ask it because if anybody listens to these, they'll probably have similar questions. Like, when you're in Australia, we'll just use Australia, do you get any free time? Like, can you explore Australia? Are you there for a mission and you're in and out?
Yes, you can. It just is dependent. It's like what your mission is, what your leadership is going to allow, how much of that free time do you have? Do you have access to vehicles, or are you walking everywhere? That kind of thing. Our mission in Australia there was a big field event going on, so we were taking a little bit of part in that, but as well as we were helping with security on their installation as well, because there was U.S. soldiers there, and anywhere U.S. soldiers go, there's got to be MPs there, because if as a soldier, and not just as a soldier, as a Marine, sailor in the Navy, airman in the Air Force, Coastie in the Coast Guard. I don't know what they call themselves, but I just call them Coasties.
Ghosties.
Yeah. Um, we anywhere they go, we all have to follow UCMJ. UCMJ is Uniform Code of Military Justice. It's like you have U.S. law, and then you have military law. So we obviously everyone has to follow U.S. law, but we have other laws that we have to follow. For example, like in basic training, if they told us not to do something, or if they told us to do something, if they told me, "Hey, you're gonna go over there," and I was like, "No," that's technically a law broken in the UCMJ. It's fair to follow direct order. So when the term that's used is like when you sign your army papers, you really are signing away a lot of your freedoms,
Yeah.
and you got no choice in it. But you're making that choice, and anyone who's signing their papers better know, and more often than not does, that you're signing away some of your rights for a moment in time.
We've seen that firsthand. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, when your sister got married, I didn't think you were able to make it. Like there's a strong chance that they weren't going to let you.
I barely got my leave approved, and heck, I got it approved like a few weeks before I was supposed to leave.
I remember how critical that was. There was a chance, and some people didn't get to make it, and that's unfortunately the military life, right? Yeah, that's a huge sacrifice.
Happens.
That's why, when veterans, I call them holidays. It should be Veterans Month, not day, but I think you all deserve so much more for the sacrifices. That's a huge sacrifice. I mean, you could miss a lot of stuff just because you signed up for, a 2-year contract with the Army, Navy, whatever, Marines. Hats off. It's so much more than what you think it is. There's a lot more that these guys sacrifice, and time from their family is probably one of the more ultimate ones. It's hard for me to speak about it because I have not done it. So if you hear me be a little quiet, I don't know what to say because I don't want to offend anybody or say the wrong thing, kind of a thing. But, I know you guys that we haven't seen you in forever, because you've been away. So
yeah.
You've been in Hawaii. We haven't felt too bad for you, but
I can't.
Especially now when it's 17 degrees outside.
Yeah, I walked outside after our man day, and the first thing I said is like, "Dang, it's cold."
That's not what you said, but thanks for keeping it PG. Oh yeah. So Kansas, that wasn't a warm place. That was your first. That wasn't that your first.
So that was my first station.
Yeah, first station.
I went to Missouri first for basic and AIT.
Mm-hmm.
Some jobs like MPs and engineers and infantry, they refer to their basic training as OSUT, OSUT, one station unit training. So basically, you do your basic training and your AIT all in the same place at the same time with the same people. So normally, what happens is other jobs like supply or quartermasters or even our parachute riggers, for example, they do their basic training, which is now, I want to say, 10 weeks long now. I think it was 8 when I came in, but it's 10 weeks now. So they do their 10 weeks at like South Carolina, Georgia, or Oklahoma, or even some do it in Missouri as well. And then they'll get a brief break. They'll go home or whatever, and then like a week or two later, they'll go to their next spot for their AIT. So they're technically still not in the real Army, yet they're just doing their AIT to get their training for their job. They got the Army training, now they need their job training. MPs, engineers, infantry, and I'm sure there's more, but those are the main 3 that I know of. They do all of it the exact same. And a lot of people say AIT is a lot easier than basic training, and for the most part it is. But if you're doing AIT and basic training together, you're just getting smoked the whole time.
Really?
Push-ups, sit-ups, whatever the drill sergeants decide. The drill sergeants are messing with you the whole time. They're doing it for a reason. And, you're there and you're just like, man, this sucks. I hate the drill sergeants. Like, they're always picking on us. And I'm like, but they're doing it for a reason. Mm-hmm. And looking back on it now, that's why I said I'd smoke basic training now. I just look at them and laugh. But back then, I was just like, man, this sucks.
Dude, that mindset, though, I want to come back to that. That is something I hope you never, ever, ever let go of. I'm serious. That is one of the most critical things that you can hold on to. Knowing that you can walk into a room of strangers and have that self-belief, confidence that I can hang it with every one of you motherfuckers is something special. Now, past podcast we talked about, we had a guy on. He ran for school board. He's a like-minded guy, but we talked about this toxic masculinity crap. And we need men. We need real men in this world, and it's been an eroded situation for many, many years, and that's the kind of stuff we need. That confidence doesn't mean you're cocky, because there's always somebody bigger than you, right?
Very much.
There's always. I tell Bo that all the time. It doesn't matter who you are. There's always somebody bigger and better. But it's that self belief that that doesn't bother me. I can hang it. I can get the job done. It don't matter.
Yeah. Talking about Bo, like I told him, yesterday when we were wrestling around, or we were in the car, and he was like, because he's in wrestling right now, and obviously I've done a lot of hand-to-hand combat training, whether it's karate or army related, or I did or Muay Thai for a little bit. And, I'll beat Bo any day of the week.
I'd hope so.
And I'll tell him. I tell him that, and he knows that. And,
but
he also is starting to get to my size now, so that's a little scary. But
trust me, I got a couple more years I could push him around, but that kid doesn't. It doesn't bother him to get hit.
No, it doesn't. That's good. But
that is good. Something I don't have. I don't want to get hit. I'm fragile.
He asked me. He's like, well, have you ever lost? And I'm like, yeah, I've lost. There's people much bigger than me. Like, I'm not gonna win. I'm a good fighter when it comes to the styles that I've done, and I'm good. But I'm not the best. And that's for a fact. There's always gonna be somebody bigger than me.
Right.
Doesn't mean I don't try.
Right. There you go. That's it. That's it. So how much like that hand-to-hand combat training did they give you?
So
if any? Or did
obviously everybody gets their hand-to-hand combat training that the Army requires in basic training. But after that, it's pretty much just on kind of dependent on what job you have and what's it called? Yeah, what job you have, or like what unit you're in, how much training you do, that kind of stuff. So it could be like infantry. They train day in, day out, because their only job is to go downrange and deploy. Versus other ones like MPs. Obviously, we do both downrange and here, but we have to learn not only Army combatives, but as well as we have to learn our own, because we still have, like, I can't just go mollywop some soldier because he's
mollywop.
Yeah, mollywop.
We'll be proud to write that
Beat the
down.
shit out of him. Like, I can't just go.
No, you can say that here. We can't put mollywop on there. Just beat the hell out of somebody. Yeah, we can put that on
I can't just go.
Yeah, we like to have fun
people
here, by the way, so we can joke about stuff.
I can't just go beating people. Like, I have to go certain ways, because at the end of the day, like, I'm still law enforcement, so I still have a lawyer can come pick apart everything.
We have a code of conduct that is.
Well, yeah, but also you have to keep in mind, like, we get a little bit different training than civilian cops do, because civilian cops, you never know who you're going to come up against.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's just some crackhead on the street, or a UFC fighter that would whoop everybody.
Yeah.
But U.S. Army, you're going to a scene, unless it's a civilian that's just getting out of hand. Like, everyone's a trained killer in the Army. Doesn't mean they're a good killer, but everyone's a trained killer in the Army.
I like that. Doesn't mean they're good, but they're trained.
Well, it's the same way, like you say, we need more, like, saying we need more men in the world, like true men. Like, everyone who joins the Army isn't a man.
I would 100% agree with that.
Yeah. Leaving the women out of it, not saying like they're a woman.
I would take that. I would take that a step further. I'd say in any genre industry. Yeah. I'm not just the Army.
Like a male goes in to the Army, he's not going to come out a man. Like, what happens to you and how you live your life in the Army, or the lessons you take from it and keep going with it, is what makes you the man.
Mm-hmm. So, I think another cool thing about your Army journey is your dad is in the Army.
Mm-hmm.
This is my stepson. I talk. If you guys listen to this, I take the step out. I hate that. He's my oldest son, but his biological dad's in the Army. I think that's cool as heck. The fact that I know you guys shared the same time in Hawaii for sure. Is that the only place, or was Washington?
No, that's the only place. So Washington was his last station.
There you go.
Before I got in the Army.
Yeah.
Then I left, went to Kansas. He went to Hawaii a year before I did.
Yeah.
And then I got orders to Hawaii. So it was nice to get to be able to.
But you guys were there together for 2 years, right?
Yeah, about 2.5, somewhere in there.
So that's got to be nice.
definitely was nice having my dad around because I got to ask him a lot, ask advice, and from a military standpoint, because he's a chaplain, so he gets soldiers in his office every day, complain about leadership. He hears about everything. He knows, and my dad's a pretty smart guy. He's got 3 different degrees. He enjoys studying things and learning about things, and once he knows it, he's not gonna forget it.
Yeah.
So especially when I was dealing with a lot of my leadership issues or some of the things that I was dealing with in Hawaii, Army-wise, like he would give me advice, be like, hey, go do this, or hey, you have this available to you, go use that, and that kind of thing. And I never got to a point where I'm like, I never wanted my dad to, step in and like come to my unit and deal with something for me.
Right.
But it was nice to be able to go to him and then I go deal with it myself.
Yes. Yeah. I've never been in the Army, like I said, but having somebody like that in the trenches with you, so to speak, has to be a little reassuring. A little bit of comfort anyway.
Very much so.
Yeah, and especially if he's has some leadership capabilities and skills that has to help mold you. So that's a cool thing. So where's he at now?
He's in Georgia now.
So like every handful of years they just move people around.
So depends on your job and your rank, and the next step in the Army is where the Army will send you. But for the most part, the Army is pretty much going to send you where they want you to go. You can put in your requests, and they may give it to you. They may not.
I remember you put in requests for places. And Hawaii was one of them that you did get.
Hawaii was a request that I put in, and luckily a spot had just opened up, and I got that spot.
So you put in for some other places that you didn't get. I forget what was like the
Kentucky. Kentucky/Tennessee. It's right on the border. I put in for that. I put in for Virginia. I put in for Washington. I also put in for Italy and Germany.
That's what it was. Okay. Yeah. Out of the country is the one I was thinking about. Yeah. So tell us about, because you kind of went up the ranks, in my opinion, maybe I'm wrong, fairly quickly. Like
I went up faster than Army standard, but I didn't go up as fast as some of the other people I came up with. But I definitely think that, especially looking at it now, some of the people that like just shot up there in ranks, like I started as an E1, so I started bare minimum. I had no rank at all. I just had this fuzzy square piece on my chest. Like I had no rank insignia or nothing. There's these things called waivers for rank. So if your leadership likes you, or they're just like, hey, I think you're showing great qualities, or that kind of thing, they'll give you a waiver. Nowadays, I'm gonna say it, and it's true. A lot of people agree with me. It's favoritism. It's a big thing in the Army, and anybody who denies it has their favorites that they protect.
You say anything you want to say here, brother.
Oh, I know. I ain't afraid of my leadership no
We're
more,
the truth.
So.
If you don't like the truth, then you probably should listen to this. So, yeah.
No, but I never got a waiver because I was never a favorite, but I always did my job and to the best of my ability, and I was good at it.
Yeah.
But, I had a couple of hiccups, and they weren't even my fault. It was just people coming after me for no good reason. But once I got to E5, which is the first rank of the NCO, well, technically the first rank, there's 2 E4 ranks, specialist and corporal. Specialist is junior enlisted, corporal's an NCO, so that's the first one. I was only a corporal for a month, and then I picked up E5, which is sergeant. But corporal is where my once I got that for that first month, that's when I started to have to be put in my leadership position and start my role as a leader, and try to take the roles that I learned lessons from the bad leaders instead of the good ones, because if you learn lessons from the bad leaders, everything you've learned from the good ones is going to be there. So, but you want to do the opposite of what the bad leaders did, because then you're already going to be a good leader. You don't have to take advice or you don't have to take advice, or you don't have to take experience just from the good leaders. Because if you take experience from the good leaders, you're going to develop some bad habits.
Yeah, I like that. That's certainly a different look on it. I like it. Going back to, as you were going up the ranks, you probably had a lot of criticism, a little bit of haters, all that stuff. Probably, it's so funny to me, not funny, but whenever, and Alan talked about this, the crab out of the bucket. I've heard that 100 times, but I just heard it the other day again from him, and it's so true. He shared about you throw a crab in the bucket. it'll crawl out and it'll get out, right? He tells it way better than I do, so listen to his podcast. But if you throw 2 or 3 crabs in the bucket, the one will crawl out and the other 2 pull them down, so you don't need a lid on the bucket is the whole point of the story. And his ending part of this, his beautiful story, is be the crab that gets out of the bucket. So many people do not want to see people level up and succeed. They hate it. It's almost, it annoys them, most people. Not most people, but a fair amount. And if they see somebody applying themselves and winning and winning and winning, they start finding reasons to throw darts at them. Or, it's because of this. It's because of that. I'll never forget one of my biggest is when we started Basham Construction. We started getting a little bit of success, and I'll never forget this. This guy said, man, well, you got to thank COVID for that. And I about punched him, if I'm being honest. I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? That's exactly what I said to him. He's like, well, COVID, everybody's home. They're doing all this stuff. I was like, dude, we were busy before that, and we're going to be busy after that. I'm not giving COVID credit, but that's an example of people, oh, you're not that good, which we're not. We don't think we are, but that's why you're successful. People always want to find that little, oh, that's why you got a winning lottery ticket, so to speak. No, it's called hard work and not quitting. That's all it is. And you found that quickly in the Army. Quickly. Probably quicker than you wanted to.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, I definitely had to mature a lot more in the Army than I would have in a civilian job, because it's like, at the end of the day, no matter what you're doing during the week, like at the end of the day, you could be deployed in a few days, weeks, months' time to Iraq, Afghanistan, Iran, anywhere, wherever they need you to go, and your life could be on the line. Or I have a few soldiers that were under me that I was taking care of, and their lives were in my hands. I never had to deal with that particularly, but it's just, something you have to think about all the time.
It's a lot of responsibility.
Yeah.
At a young age,
I was 22 when I was an E5, and I'm 22 years old, and I have 2, 3, 4 soldiers that are following me. That some of them are older than me.
Yeah. Well, leadership doesn't have an age cap, or doesn't have you got to be to this age to become a leader. I spoke to your brother Bo about that. He's 14, and we've talked for 3 hours already today. So none of it was recorded, but Bo, he's a little awkward around you, and we talked about that. He looks up to you big time, and he's been foaming at the mouth for you to be home. And so you see some awkwardness with him and some shyness and some, he'll pull back too a little bit. He's trying to impress you. And I told Bo, I said, you're 14 years old. There's a lot of 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12-year-olds looking up at you. And they're watching everything you do. I'm talking to Bo when I'm saying this. They're watching everything you're doing. There's people that watch everything I do. You see, there's one big difference between all three of us. I'm 46, you're 24, and he's 14. But we're all in leadership positions. So keep that in mind. It doesn't matter who you are, how old you are, what position you are. Doesn't matter how little of a job you think it is or how big of a job you think it is. It all matters. It all adds up. There's somebody always watching you. And there's a lot of haters watching you, too. They're waiting for you to slip up, trip up, make a mistake so they can point their finger and laugh, and they go sit on the couch, eat bonbons, and watch Jerry Springer. That's their life. The ones that are trying to better themselves are like, what the fuck is that guy doing that I'm not? Oh, he's applying himself. He's sticking to the program. He doesn't take days off. He's not sitting there gossiping about people. He's helping lift other people up. He's leading people. Those are the qualities that people, it's like the sun. They can't wait for it to come up.
Yeah.
And that is something I'm trying to distill in you young men, that I don't care if you're a janitor. You can be a leader and be a janitor. You can be a leader and be the president of the United States. That's how far of a gap it can be. It doesn't matter. And I'm not competing with him, you, Jeff. I'm competing with me. And when you figure that out, there's really not anything you can't do. You ignore all the negativity. You find that if they come at me every day, like every day. I get text messages, emails, shit on social media. It's kind of comical. Every day it's coming at me. I know it. which is why I do this podcast. I'm already getting arrows in my back, right? And I'm already deflecting negativity. It doesn't bother me. So I'm going to do this podcast, and I'm going to go against it and use good. We're going to continue this to help other people get good. Then once everybody's doing it, we're going to be living in one hell of a cool world. That's the goal. So my tangents get long sometimes, sorry. But let's go back to your friend group is so massive, but it's so different. Mm-hmm. And the reason I say that is you're getting out of the military, you're in Hawaii, but you're going to stay in Hawaii. Mm-hmm. And something that hit me the other day we were talking is, well, my friends are here, but everybody comes and goes. That's got to be hard to deal with. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, I've had to deal with that since my dad joined when he went active. Like, my school friends, I mean, like, when I moved into, I use Ethan, for example, like, when I moved into Jamestown, that's when I started going to the same school as Ethan. Ethan and I became friends, and then come freshman year, went from 5th grade to freshman year, halfway through it, I moved to Virginia. Mm-hmm. So I had to build a whole new list of friends and still try and keep some of the same ones, and pretty much Ethan and maybe a couple others are the only ones I have left here. But then I had a whole list of friends in Virginia, but, you know, some of them would leave because their parents would leave, and then some of them, or new ones would come, and then I left, and I had to go make new friends, and that was not easy because that was halfway through my senior year. Everyone's already checked out, ready to leave high school, and, you know, so I just kind of just did my thing. And then I joined the Army, made a bunch of friends in basic training. Or a good chunk I still talk to. And then I had Kansas and the friends I made while deployment in Germany and then Hawaii. But everywhere you go, either you're coming and going or somebody else is coming and going. Or it's just whenever you're around a military installation, you're going to meet a lot of military people. Mm-hmm. And you never know if they're going to leave next month or next year.
So believe it or not, that sucks. I mean, it can suck. But that is actually a skill that you're learning. It's a skill that your mother has. Mm-hmm. I've not met anybody better than her, if I'm being honest about that specific skill. It's a skill, an art, or whatever you want to call it. But to be able to uproot and go to a whole new place and make friends or make a community or whatever it is something that's a skill I do not have. I might have a little of it, but not near what your mother does. And that is something you're learning. And I know it's painful now, but that will carry through the rest of your life. Like, you'll be able to, whatever job you get, relationship you're in, whatever company you're working for, or if you run your own company, whatever it is, you are going to have people come and go a lot. And you are going to have to create that skill, which you've already created, so you're already a step ahead of most, to develop friendships, relationships, and get people to buy into your system, your belief, whatever it is, and vice versa. To be able to meet new people is one of the more critical skills that's overlooked, in my opinion. It's very critical. It may not be the most, but it's something that gets you ahead quicker in anywhere you're going. So, as painful as that is, there is a pot of gold on the other end of that rainbow, so to speak. So, but I know it does suck because sometimes you feel lonely,
especially with the military. And not even speaking Army, Navy, Marine, military. The military will give you some of the best friends you've ever made, and even close to family. And then as soon as you're living your best life with them, one of you gets ripped away.
Yeah.
I have a best friend in North Carolina. I have 2 in Alabama. I have 1 in Montana. I have friends all over the U.S. And some that are still moving around and some that aren't.
Your best friend's sitting right here in the corner.
That's my day one best friend.
Ethan, you can't see him. Ethan's been with us the last couple of days. He lives in Jamestown. He's a wonderful young man. He took 2 days off to spend time with you. I think that is remarkable. Cooper, you suck. Cooper's never taken a half an hour from me. I'm kidding, Coop. I love you, but you do. I'm the better friend, Coop, just so you know. He ain't gonna listen to this.
That's one thing I tell Ethan, and you can ask him. I tell him this every time. I forget I tell him every time, but I'm gonna keep telling him every time. Every time I've come home, he's always taken days off from work or been able to take a little time off from school when he was in it. It's just because, and it means a lot, especially to, and this will go for any military member. Um, the biggest thing in the military is leave. Whenever we take leave, like we most of the time when we take leave, it's to go home. It's not to go on vacation or go like explore some places. And some people do and have the ability to, but most of us just go home. And then as soon as you get home, everyone's just like, "Oh, come over here and see me. Come over and see me. Come over and see me." And I'm like, I don't have a car for one. For two, I just traveled umpteen thousand miles to come here. Like, you get your ass over here. Like, I'm not like going down to see Papa in Louisville. Like, they're getting old.
Yeah.
Like, them driving up in the snow and stuff. Like, I would much rather drive down there, and I was okay with doing that. And, you know, but I've been traveling a lot lately with me getting out of the Army. I've been going to school and trying to work on getting all out of the Army, and then coming here, and I got to go back. And so, the more travel I add onto it, the
How was your trip to Papa's?
It was good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was actually really good to catch up with him because I don't remember if I did see him last time I came up. Remember he came up and we made homemade pizzas in your oven. But I haven't seen anybody besides my dad, stepmom, and little sister Nora, in over a year and a half.
Yeah.
And even then, I haven't seen them in 6 months now. So.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, yeah, I need a little bit of time home. I need to go see some people. My job started on December 9th instead of November 25th, and I had to buy a plane ticket to show the Army that I was leaving the island. And it just turned out, I'm like, hey, Mom, you guys going to be busy this week? Are you going to be at home at least? Like, I know you got school, work, and everything, but I'll come hang out with you or hang out with Mom. Or
There's a difference between us. We make time. We'll go make it.
I know.
That's
But
one thing.
that's
People's
everything.
like, I don't have time. Bullshit. Everybody's got the same 24 fucking hours in the day.
Yeah.
That's the truth. People don't like to hear the truth. The truth is we all have time. We all have the same amount of time, period. So if anybody ever tells you that, tell them to go listen to this podcast because you all have time. Everybody's got time to do whatever the hell you want.
No, yeah.
Just do it.
But that's one of the biggest struggles in being in the military is like, hey, like coming to see us is a little bit difficult because, our job, especially depending on your job, my job's not a 9 to 5. It's not a Monday through Friday. It's a, hey, I work when they want me to work or if they need me to work, or, hey, we're actually going to give you this day off and then we're going to work this day. It's forever changing. So trying to come see me, especially out in Hawaii, it's difficult because I just can't come make time. But but that's always the biggest thing in the military is people like always want us to make the extra effort to see them, but never make the extra effort to see us.
That's life. That sucks sometimes. Leaders make time. Period. That's just adopt that. And somebody had to point this out to me, and I don't know who to give the credit to. But not everybody is going to. Not everybody's going to be like you. So, for example, talk about friendship. I'll be real with you. He's a better friend than you are to him. I'm a better friend to Cooper than he is to me. Fact. Maybe not fact. That's how I feel about it. It's hard to find somebody that can love you or that can meet you. And when you find that, hang on to it. It's very rare. And I'm kind of kidding about Cooper, but I'm not a little bit. We'll talk about that later, Coop. To find that that friend that actually surpasses you and challenges you and makes you fucking work for it. That's the guy you want to find, and that's that guy right there. All right? And that should challenge you to want to be a better friend to him or to whoever, right? We're using him because he's sitting here. But it's just like when I was talking to Alan, we talked about a sales job, blah, 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 and I wanted to be I'm not going to talk about me because I hate talking about me. But anyway, he's like, you're not going to get there because you're not going to find anybody that's going to work like you, right? So you're going to be miserable. And he was right. I sat on that for several years. I'm like, what the hell is he talking about? He was right. So when you find somebody that loves you as much as you love them, as a friend, as a spouse, as a whatever, that's special. That's super special. When you find that person that loves you better than you love them and challenges you, that's a unicorn. Okay? So just don't ever forget that. That's why he is so critical to your life. And that he should inspire you to be a fucking better person all the way around. It's not a negative thing. That's a positive thing. You're a lucky son of a bitch. Mm-hmm. And so are you. You guys are lucky to have each other. You know what I mean? Something you don't take for granted, and it's something you need to celebrate. You know, I'm not saying go to the bar every 5 minutes, but you know what? That's hard to find. That is success. Success has nothing to do with money. I don't give a shit if you got $5 million or $5. If you have peace of mind, family, friends that love you, respect you, you got success. That is success. Peace of mind, love, friendship, support, people that's got your back, people that are going to talk positively about you in rooms that you aren't in. That's success. Money is money. It's a tool. So I challenge both of you guys to never, ever take that shit for granted. Cool? Cool. Tell me the funniest story you can on TV, on whatever, that you can about the Army. Okay. I want to hear some funny stuff. Some stuff your mom won't listen, so just...
Yeah, I'll tell you my pink unicorn story.
Ooh. Is it PG-13?
Yeah.
This is a Disney show. Come on.
So while we were on deployment in Germany, the main thing we did there was law enforcement. So we went and switched out with a company that was deployed there. So we took over their job as law enforcement on the installations in Germany. And one night we got a call, and I got to watch. I was mostly watching. I didn't get to actually take part in it, but it was the funniest thing ever. The call was, it came in like, hey, the gate guards just contacted us at the front gate. There's this private at the gate. He's not wanting to pay his taxi cab. No idea why. Dude was drunk off his ass. Funny as hell.
Yeah.
Little PV2, so private first class or private second class or private first class. I can't remember which one he was, but so E2, E3. He's by himself, refusing to pay his taxi cab. He's like drunk off his ass, like, I'm not fucking paying that taxi. Mm-hmm. And our goal is just to be like, come on, man, just pay the taxi and go home. Like, they can't drive onto the installation, so they drop him at the gate and they turn around. Taxi cab wasn't leaving because he's like, hey, that fucker hasn't paid me yet. Mm-hmm. And anybody knows anything about languages, even if they're speaking the nicest words possible, Germans sound like they're always mad at you.
Really?
Yeah, they always sound like they're so mad. It's just the way their language
Germans?
is. Yeah.
Hitler always sounded mad, so that sounds about
the way their language is, it just sounds like they're always mad at you.
Yeah.
Or they're always speaking like the most aggressive tone ever, but they could be saying the most wonderful thing. But this guy wasn't. He was mad. He was pissed. All right. Anyway, so, he starts to get a little agitated and starts to walk towards my staff sergeant and another specialist that was there. And this specialist that was there, his name was Carrillo. He was a great guy. I loved him. Very motivational. He was very knowledgeable too. I learned a lot from him. But he was a big dude. Like, he was about my height or a little bit shorter, but like he was bigger than you and me put together. And I mean like big, not like big. Like, he was pretty built. He was in the gym every day. So he starts walking up towards him, and next thing I know, like, he's getting agitated, and he kind of pushed Carrillo out of the way, or not Carrillo. He pushed my staff sergeant out of the way, and then he starts going towards Carrillo. Carrillo picks him up and slams
the big guy.
Yeah, he picks up this little private and slams him into the hood of the taxi, flips him over, and puts him in handcuffs. Like, it's gonna be a shit day for you now. Funniest part of the story is he's wearing nothing but a pink unicorn onesie.
Are you serious?
Mm-hmm. He went out on the town in his little pink unicorn onesie, and I'm like, you're a dude, right?
Yeah. Dang. Threw him on the cop on the
hood of the taxi.
I mean,
he just picked him up and slammed him on the hood of the taxi. He's like, you're not fucking touching me, man.
Hey, I got a story that has nothing to do with the Army. It's similar to that. I was stuck on 465 one time. I'll make the story quick. It was cold like today, and it was like real slick out. And I was merging onto 465. There's 4 or 5 cop cars. There's this big old dude, about like what you're saying. I don't know if he's built or not, but everybody had Carhartts on. Well, this big old boy says, "The hell with this." I'm creeping. I'm not driving. I'm just creeping on, So I'm like right there. This big old boy says, "The hell with this," and starts running. And this cop pulls out like this. It was a yellow. I knew it was a taser.
Yeah.
Yellow, and goes bam, and I could see the 2 or 3 wires.
It's
Something
2.
Like that. Is it 2? Go out and hit him through that Carhartt jacket, and that guy folded and was like a flopping fish.
Yep.
And they just stood there and watched. I drive by. I was like, "What the hell?" That was real shit.
Mm-hmm.
And you did that kind of stuff every day.
It doesn't matter how big you are. If you get a good spread and good connection on those tasers, there is like 26,
Dude, he went down like a
27,
pile of bricks.
28,000 volts running through between those 2 probes. They will drop. They will lock your entire body up.
He was like seized. It was crazy, crazy. Have you ever been tased?
No,
You
I
wanna
was
be?
lucky. So, technically speaking, we're all supposed to be tased, but we use the Marine Cert. Marine Cert states that you have to be tased by actual probes. Not we have training what we call alligator clips. They're like something you just clip to your body. Technically speaking, you're supposed to be shot with an actual probe. When I went through my law enforcement academy in Kansas, we had so many people in the class they didn't have enough cartridges for us all.
You're like,
So some people got tased. They would tase 2 at a time, where you can actually, if somebody's like, I'll use protesters for example, how they link arms. If for some reason you need to tase 2 protesters, you can turn the gun sideways, and then you can pull the trigger. It'll shoot out the tasers this way instead of up and down. So it'll go this way. You can get both of them, and then they'll both be tased.
oh,
So the point of the taser is there's 2 probes, and as long as there's a connection, so if one's in my leg and one's in my back, there's a connection. They're connected.
gotcha.
So if one was in my back and one was in your back, you might feel a little bit of like, ooh, that kind of tickles a little bit. But as soon as you and I were like to link arms, or just even if I was to poke you on the shoulder, connections,
It's a
the
circuit,
connection
yeah.
is connected, and then we're both just dropped.
Mhm.
So, but they did that and put 2 people, and then they opened up the 2 people that got shot. So they had to do it again. Then they put some people in between. So there was like about 5 of them or 6 of them in a chain. They pulled the trigger in. All 6 of them dropped back onto their backs, and they're like all screaming. But they ran out of cartridges. So there was about a
You're
third.
like, thank God.
There was about a third of us that didn't get tased.
Well,
And
you
I'm
don't know what
sitting
your
here like,
Christmas
yes.
present is yet, but you're getting tased, bitch.
So I got to my news station. They're
I'm
like,
just teasing.
no, they're like,
We'll both get tased. That would suck.
I'm still not doing it.
I don't want to do it either. I'm kidding.
I was
Bad
gonna
idea.
when I got to my news station. I'm like, oh, I'll do it. I'll get tased. Like I haven't been tased. I'll suck it up and I'll do it. And then the first guy went and he screamed like a little bitch, and I'm like, nope, I'm good. Thanks. I have my certification. I don't need to get tased. So
This reminds me though, when you had to go do and forgive me, it's been a long time and I don't have all the terminology, but you did when you're doing boot camp or whatever, didn't you have to do the gas mask thing?
yep. So that's one thing you do in.
But you called us afterwards. You're like, that sucked. Tell us about that.
I think I got my phone that weekend, and I called you guys and told you about it. And so the gas mask or the gas chamber,
Yeah.
it's CS gas. So like how CS gas grenades that police use to disperse riots, or like it's basically like a stronger form of pepper spray. But what they do is they get the chamber and they put a bunch of tablets in, and they burn the tablets to make the gas. And so what they do is they have you don your mask before you go into the chamber.
Oh,
So
okay.
they check you, make sure you're good, and then you go in. You do a couple exercises, like you break the seal of the mask real quick,
That's
and then
what it
close it
was.
back up and then you expel all the gas. And as long as you do it correctly, you ain't got any gas in your mask left. And so it's just like a test, but you're running around. They're getting you sweaty because it's worse when you're sweaty and exhausted. Then it gets to a point where they're like, all right, so we're going to count to 3. On 3, everybody's going to take off their mask and raise it up in the air. Everyone will stay in position, citing the Soldier's Creed, until every single one of you has that mask in the air. So if somebody doesn't have that mask in the air, the rest of you are going to hate it. Luckily for me, my crew that went, everyone had their gas mask in the air. So, but you start saying the Soldier's Creed. They say go, you take the mask off, you raise it up, they leave it for a couple seconds, make sure everybody's got it. You're inhaling that gas.
You're not holding your breath?
No. I mean, you could, but like they kept you in there long enough to the point where like it wasn't very well. But also like, um, I hated it because I got sunburned a little bit before on my neck before we went in, and if you're sunburned anywhere, if you have an open cut, it's gonna sting.
Really?
Yeah. So like me, I held my breath for a little bit, but also the drill sergeants were like, hey, don't hold your breath. I don't care if you want to, but everyone needs like this is a training, you have to breathe it in, because we have to know what we're using, and if we get a side effect or like if we get caught, if we throw a CS gas grenade, for example, we might get hit with it a little bit. So you need to know what it feels like. It's the same thing with the taser and the OC for law enforcement. But so as soon as they do that, they open the door and we all go running out. So there's a big ledge. When you leave the chamber, there's a concrete plat, and then it goes down or drops off the ledge into a tire pit where you just walk around, or you're flapping your arms like a dumbass bird, and then because you're expelling the gas off your clothes. So when I was towards the back, I wasn't towards the front, and it got to a point where I'm like I can't see shit. So I got my hand on the person in front of me, and I'm just following them out, and I forgot about that ledge. The drill sergeants told us when you go in there, hey, don't forget about that ledge. I forgot about the ledge, so I get out that chamber and I full eat shit into the tire pit, and then I get up and I keep walking.
Was this on video?
Some of it was.
Yeah.
Some of it was. I can't remember if mine got caught on video. I'd have to go back and look. I have a lot of the video from my basic training, but I'd have to go back and look at it. But when you come out, you're all snotty and gross, and me, I couldn't see a damn thing. So like I get to the end of the tire pit and I'm over by the trees, just still flapping my arms trying to get all this stuff off me. They're like, hey, blink your eyes. You got mucus running down your face. It's gross. But I'm sitting here I'm like, how in the world did I make it through the tire pit? Because I couldn't see anything. Next thing I saw was I'm in the trees, and I'm like, how'd I get here?
Yeah.
But afterwards, I'm like, that wasn't too bad. It sucked it in the initial point, but other than that, it wasn't too bad. I wouldn't do it again.
You wouldn't?
I've had to do it again. But
yeah. I guess that's what the things that I appreciate about you is the things you've been through. So that, like in life, you just stack them. You stack all all your wins. The things you've been through helps define who you are, where you're going, kind of a thing. Yeah. It's like, I've been tased, or you haven't, but I've been through that. Check. There's all these things that
I did have to get OC'd or pepper sprayed.
Yeah, on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
By an ex-girlfriend or something. What happened?
No, for training.
Oh, for training.
So you get certified in taser and as well as OC, because whenever you use OC, you might get a little backlash. You have to know how it feels.
Gotcha.
That was much worse than the gas chamber.
Yeah.
I'd rather go through the gas chamber.
Really?
Yeah, than get OC'd again, 100%.
Whew,
that effects lasted. The effects of that lasted about 2-3 hours after. But your NCOs, they'll tell you, and or your instructors, and they'll be like, hey, when you make sure you remember this. When you wash your body or your eyes or your head or whatever, when you wash yourself in the shower tonight, make sure that when you wash your face, because that's where you get sprayed in the face. When you wash your face, you need, especially if you're a male, make sure you lean over.
Oh.
And let the water run off.
Oh. It gets in places you don't want it to be. Not good, right?
I didn't lean over enough. I will leave the rest to your imagination, but I didn't lean over enough. OC re-reacts in water.
Oh,
because it's
were you taking a bath or what?
No, I took a shower. It's a water-based pepper spray.
Oh,
it's either water or oil-based pepper spray, and
clearly
the oil-based one is a lot stronger, and that's what I got hit with. But water reacts the pepper spray.
Oh man, that's
so
no good.
It goes down your body, and yeah, I'll leave that to your imagination.
I'll leave a story to your imagination. This has nothing to do with me, but a buddy in high school. You know that product Nair? Nair. It's like takes the hair off. Like it's weird. I don't know. Chicks use it, I guess. Well, he decided to use it. He's a senior in high school. I won't name his name. He decided to use it in places he probably shouldn't have. That's probably similar to what you went through. We're like, what the hell are you doing that for? Anyway, that's no good. I wouldn't want that upon anybody either.
No.
But So, would you do it again? Would you do 6.5 years again? Looking back,
And a different job, yeah.
but with the military, would you do the military life
I
again?
definitely another common thing said is like, but especially by people who get out, joining the military was the best worst mistake I ever made.
Is that your words? Or is that what people
No,
say?
I fully agree with that. I'm not saying it's like something I've said. It's something I heard and something
Yeah,
I agree with. So I'm like, yeah, I agree with that. That's the best worst mistake I ever made.
that's interesting.
Yeah, because joining the military, you kind of know what you're signing up for, but you really don't. And you go through all this like joining the military alone. Like it's not easy.
Yeah,
Like that's why it's said that it's 1% that are actually able to be in the military, and it's not an easy thing to do. I saw a lot of people quit in basic training, get hurt in basic training, get kicked out in basic training, whether it was because of medical reasons or they're just fucking idiot.
you say 1%,
Mm-hmm.
dude. That's pretty solid. That's pretty solid. You should be proud as hell of that.
And then once you get into the military, it's just the number goes down.
Anybody that's served our country, that's in that 1%, I have the most full amount of respect for. That's amazing. You're 1% out of 100. Look, think of that. You should be very proud of that.
I am.
Every time I go to a Colts game and they roll that big ass flag out, I say big ass as not a negative. The big flag out, I get teary eyed. I think of you every time. I do. I think of you every time. It's like the most surreal feeling. Anybody that follows me, they'll know if I went to one because I put that on my story. Usually I tag you.
Yeah, I see.
But that I didn't know it was 1%. That's like elite level.
No, I even have a shirt that in basic training, once you get done, they bring all these like shirt out. You're just a little private, and you're like, oh my god, that's so cool. Looking back on it, I'm like, I'm such a fucking dweeb. But
You're not.
one of the shirts I bought, it was like it said it was 1%. It was a 1% shirt, and I'm just like, I'm so cool. I'm not, but I'm so cool.
You are cool. Like,
I am cool. I'm cool.
I know
but
you
like
are.
the gear, that was a little nerdish, and
I go back to that. People looking up to you. Like Bo looks up to you, man. A lot of people. I'm older and I look up to you. So that age doesn't have a thing there. We admire that. We do. That's something to be proud of. There's a difference between, and Alan actually taught me this too. Sorry to keep hammering on him, but cocky and arrogance. I'll never forget. We were in a sales meeting and he had a big whiteboard and he drew a line across there. He drew an arrow to here and an arrow down to that line. He says, always be right there, right under that line. Anything above that, you're cocky. You're arrogant. But right here, you're confident. Be as confident as you possibly could fucking be. So use that to your advantage, but don't be cocky and arrogant because we go back to that big boy. There's always a bigger boy that's going to knock you down, right?
Whereas like
or
you
humble
say, you say you're proud of me and I'm the 1%. And I'm like, yeah, I am, and I do appreciate that 100%.
Mm-hmm.
Me, the way I
well,
see
99%.
it, though, is like,
99%. See, 100. Sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
But like the way I like my version of seeing it is, the last time I came home to Indiana, right before that, I was in school. Well, not school. I was in selection for special operations, civil affairs. I can go into that, but it's a long story. But I was in selection for a special operations unit, and it was 11 days long, and it's probably one of the toughest things you can do in the Army, because that selection is no joke. And my knees were screaming by the end of it. I was limping everywhere, but I got to the end of it. I didn't get selected for like one or two reasons. I'm not gonna go into it, but just being able to say that I completed that school, and I and the instructor that gave me my out brief, I can't talk about the school because I signed an NDA, but my instructor that gave me the out brief, he was like, hey, so we're giving you 2 years time to work on all this stuff and saying, hey, you can come back to this school in 2 years and try again. Some people don't return at all. We don't fucking want you. Some people get like, hey, come back 6 months, 1 year, 2 years. So it's sucks to get not selected, but it's good to get a non-select with a return time. Okay. So like next year, if I wanted to, if I was still staying in, I could go back and more than likely I'd get selected because I have been doing a lot better now and I know what I need to do the next time to get selected. So I very well could have been in special operations, but I decided I'm going to get out, and that's the people in the military that I have respect for. The ones who, the Green Berets, the Rangers, the people who are not just in the military, but they're doing the stuff that everybody thinks they're doing in the military every day.
Mm-hmm.
They're going out training, working out. They're deploying more than anybody. Like, they're the ones who, I'll use Osama bin Laden, for example. SEAL Team 9.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say 9. It was either 9 or 6. SEAL Team 9. They're the ones who dealt with it. That's the Navy Special Operations. Those are the elite of the elite.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to be one, and very well could have, but I definitely can't now with my knees.
That I can't speak on the military side. I'm not going to pretend to, but that doesn't change your mission.
Mm-mm.
I used to coach a lot. I don't coach anymore. I coach people now, I guess. I don't even know if I'd call myself that. But it doesn't – we're not all going to be Green Berets. We're not all going to be the quarterback. We're not all going to be the head coach, right? Just because you don't have that position or that clout doesn't change the mission. It doesn't change who you are. It doesn't change the value of who you are. If you go back and listen to this, you'll answer your own questions on this. The skill set, the things that Duncan Hunley brings to the table, nobody else can bring to the table but you. They only made one of you. Did you know that?
Yeah.
There's only one of you. So be the best you can possibly be. You have a goal. I mean, Ed Milet talks about this all the time. He was set. I mean, I met the man once. He's one of the most wealthy guys in the world. He wanted to be a baseball player. He got injured. It crushed his dreams. He thought everything was over. Well, he changed that mindset. He used that mindset to be the baseball player and to the man he is today. It didn't change his. He's a motivational speaker. He's going out and motivating young men to become chasing the dreams that he was chasing, right? So just because you didn't get that job or that position, don't let up on the gas because the mission didn't change.
Yeah.
That goal or that one thing you wanted might have changed, but shit, you could be the best trainer, coach, whatever it is. You just don't ever quit. That's the thing I tell young people. You're going to hit, and Alan said it best, you're going to have so many train wrecks in your life. Maybe not a ton, but you're going to have them. Nobody's getting out of life without them. You're going to have some disruptive shit in your life, and you got a decision to make. We talked about this at the cigar bar. You're either going to make that your identity or you're going to use it as fuel to get where you're going. You have two. There's not three options. There's not four. There's two fucking options. And once you've realized that, you have one decision to make, and it's really the obvious one. We're not going to sit here and cry in our beer. We're going to pick ourselves up by our bootstraps and make the best of the situation, which you've done a very, very good job of that. And keep doing that. You're going to hit roadblocks, dude. I hit them every day. And if we stop and say, well, woe is me, this could have happened, if this would have happened, and you hear people like that all the time. I see them every day. Then I could have done that. Well, no. You chose to dwell in the shit, so you live in the shit. That's the brutal reality. You have two decisions. Not three, not four, not one. You have two. Am I going to live here, or am I going to get out of this shit and be better for it? The answer is pretty clear. So you got to have that throughout your whole life. The cool thing with you and why I wanted you on is you're only 24. Dude, when I was 24, I wasn't near as advanced as where you're at. So I know a lot of times you think you're not as far as where you want to be. You're ahead of where you want to be, whether you know it or not. You really are. But you got to keep that mindset, and you can't ever quit. The only reason, like Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, all those guys are who they are. They just never quit. They're not any more talented than you and I. Yes, they can dunk a basketball. They're 6'8". I get all that. I get all that. We get all the physicalities of it, right? I'm talking mindset. Once you establish a good mindset, nobody can touch you. I'm being for real. Nobody can touch you. You can do anything you want to do. You just can't quit. You work hard, and you don't quit. That is your formula. That's it. That's it. So let's wrap this thing up. We've been talking about an hour and 10, but I do want to talk about the rest of our time. You're transitioning out of the Army life into civilian life. I just want to hear your what made you decide to do that, and what decisions have you made? What's your future looking like for the next 2 or 3 years?
Yeah, I mean, reason I decided to get out of the Army is just because, I didn't feel like I enjoyed being in the Army anymore. I was just have had nothing but bad leadership the past couple years, and it's just not going the direction that I want it to go. It's not the Army that I joined into, and hell, like, every generation is able to say, like, oh, the Army's changed since I've been in, because it's forever changing. It's going to forever change. I just don't like the way it's changing, and I don't want to deal with it anymore. So I made the decision to get out, and it's a nervous one. It's a nervous decision, especially for me, because I've known nothing but the military for, 10 years since my dad joined, and then I joined, and career-wise, it's all I've got on my record, minus some jobs in high school, but so it's definitely a challenging thing. I had insurance. I always had a place to stay. I always had food on my table. Not saying I'm not gonna have all that, but it's different because it's not like 100% guaranteed. It's not like the government. I'm not gonna say it's the best, but they take care of you.
Yeah.
Partially because you signed your soul to them, but partially because they have to. But because if you're not taken care of, if you're not healthy, if you're not doing okay, you ain't gonna be able to fight in any war or anything along the lines. You ain't gonna be good in the field. Yeah, and that's how people die. But me, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna make a decision. I'm gonna move on because I want to change my career field. I don't want to be law enforcement anymore. I joined with the intent of being law enforcement. I just this time and age, I can't do it. I don't have the patience for it. Seeing a lot of the videos and what the officers have to deal with nowadays, I'm like, yeah, no, I don't have the patience for that. I'm gracious for the people that do, and to those that still do and can do and are going to do, more power to them.
That's good.
Because I can't, and I will say that 100%. Like, that's not me.
Well, we're not all supposed to fill every role, really. Yeah. I mean, I look at like paramedics and like doctors and things that I like, dentist, anything of that. I couldn't do that. I wouldn't want to do it. But damn, we're thankful for them, right? Yeah. So we got to have some diversity. It's a good thing.
No, but I enjoy working with my hands, and I enjoy being able to work a lot and work hard. And I feel like I can say 100% my work ethic is a great one. I like to work. I don't like sitting still, and I like hard manual labor. So that's exactly what I did. I went to a school for called Airstreams Renewables Incorporated. Civilians can do it too. It's pricey, but veterans they target veterans because we have GI Bills that pay for our school, and so I used a little bit of my GI Bill to pay for that school, and we got about 10 different certifications in the industries of wind, solar, and telecom, and sun's not going anywhere, wind's never gonna die, and we all fucking use cell phones all the time, and they're not getting any cheaper. So
yeah, that's true. Yeah, I guess recession-proof industry is probably not the best word, but it's probably close to that.
Yeah. So I have 3 different types of industries I can work in, and I have a job in solar with a company called Sunrun, and gonna work as a solar installer. I start that on Monday.
Excited.
So I'm very excited.
So we were coming back. We went on a little road, like not a long road trip, a couple hours. And Duncan was pointing out all these cell towers. I'm going to be climbing that one. I'm like, Jiminy Christmas, dude.
Yeah. In school,
and you're looking forward to doing that.
Yeah. In school, the tower we climbed was 120 feet tall. And
you ever take a leak off the top of the tower?
You
got. I mean, I would, wouldn't you?
So funny thing is,
first thing I do is take a leak off the top of that tower.
This is a story that my
like, hey, let me know when it hits the cup.
This is a story that my instructor told me. So there's a hole in the bottom of wind turbines that to drain out any water that might have leaked in or anything like that. When you're 300 feet up in the air,
dude, I'm taking a leak.
And you gotta pee.
Oh,
I ain't gonna climb 300 feet down to take a piss.
Right.
So what guys will do is they'll go to the bottom, find that hole, and they'll like basically lay down on the ground and take a leak through that hole.
I wouldn't do that. That's
So
like
it could be clear as day. Like he was telling me he's like, yeah, like basically what this one guy did is he really had to pee so bad he laid down, stuck his dick through the hole. I swear if you look from the other side, his dick would just be flapping against the windmill because it was just so windy that day.
Where's your buzzword, your code words, your what'd you call it? Never mind. Anyway, so
he took a leak on the top of the tower.
I would totally do that.
It could
every
be
time.
clear as day, and you're in the tower, you're near the towers, and you could just be feeling like
what the heck are you doing? Like what? So you climb to the top of the tower.
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing up there?
So, the people that are climbing to the top of the wind turbines.
Know what you're doing, like what you're gonna do. I know the wind turbine.
Well, so solar, I'm climbing onto roofs to install solar panels.
Oh. Gotcha.
So I'm right now. I'm learning to install solar panels and batteries and the wiring and all that stuff, and so I can move my way into electrician and technician spots. It's just the starting point for this company I joined, and I'm gracious for that because I'm gracious for any job that I could get, paying well outside the Army. So, but you got to start somewhere, and I'm starting an installer, and I'm glad to be starting as an installer. But each industry does things a little bit differently. Like they all have different things. Like the wind turbine guys, they're going up and fixing it. It could be the generators, or it could be something to do with one of the blades or the rotation itself. I won't go into all the specific terms, but cell tower guys, like wind turbine and cell towers, you got to build the towers.
Mm-hmm.
So you learn all that, and then once the towers are built, cell towers, you got to put all the antennas and the radios up top.
Oh, okay.
So the cell services that are like renting out space on top of that tower have signal. So you got to get all the radios and antennas up there, then all the wires you got to deal with, and then you got to deal with stuff on the ground too. And there's multiple different types of towers. There's a couple different types of wind turbines.
Let's fast forward 10 years.
Yep.
You're 10 years from now, and you look back, you gonna miss the Army?
I'll miss the people.
Okay.
I'll miss the camaraderie and the people.
You know what's funny about that? How funny, but ironic about that? I like football, but every guy that retires, that's what they say. Yeah. I want to miss the guys in the locker room. They don't miss anything else but that. Yeah. And that is something I want to kind of close on. That is one of your biggest assets, you two guys right here. It's huge. And all the other relationships you have in the Army, outside of the Army, that's how I met Chad Cooper. I mean, I went to your mom dropped me off at Morton Buildings at 5 a.m. in Greencastle, Indiana. Drove it. We were living in Remington at the time. Mm-hmm. That was the most horrible day of my life. But I met my best friend there. And that, to me, is what I'm trying to get to is cherish those relationships, man, because that's what's going to get you through life. Your loved ones, your friends, the people's got your back, through and through. That's what gets you through all these hard times. And then one of these days you look back, you're like, holy shit, I kind of missed the Army, or I kind of missed that. But then you make your new reality, right? Mm-hmm. But don't ever run from your mistakes, your failures, because that's the shit that helps grow you, right? I never end these things well, but we're so proud of you. We are. Your family is very, very proud of you.
I appreciate it.
You're very motivating to a lot of us, and your little brother, your sisters. There's a lot of people that don't even know you that they're watching you. So make them proud. You've already made us all proud. So I'm very thankful you've been on here today. Thanks for coming from Hawaii to come see us. You came to see me. I get it.
Yeah.
Not your mom. Anyway. No, but we miss you already, and we're proud of you. I'm very excited to see what you do in the next 5-10 years. I want to be with you the whole step of the way. Your dad will be too, your mom, your stepmom, your whole family. Very, very proud of you, and that's something that nobody can take away from you. So thank you. Thank you all for listening, and share the show. Hit us up in the comments. Let us know what you think. And if you know anybody that would like to be on the show, not hard to find. Text me, email me, throw something at me, whatever. But we're trying to grow the show, and we appreciate all of the support and the people that listen. We thank Jeff and Campfire Video Solutions for doing such a great job producing this show. If anybody's in the market for that service, I would definitely hit up Jeff. He's not hard to find either. So thank you all and have a great day.